This week's Parsha is Mishpatim. Mishpatim comes from the Hebrew word laws, judgments, statutes, and it follows, of course, the giving of the Ten Commandments. It is a lawyer's paradise. This is all case law. The entire Parsha deals with laws concerning very practical matters. It deals with property. It deals with life and death issues. It deals with negligence. What's negligence? It deals with what happens when a criminal enters your home. What kind of defense can you put up? What kind of self-defense? What's interesting is the very first law. The very first law, at first we seem a little bit startled because it talks about what happens when you acquire a eved. Now, we just read for weeks about Avadim Hayinu. Avadim Hayinu the Farber b'Mitzrayim. We've been slaves, right? The whole idea is slavery is against God's will. And then the first thing is we have a law about what do you do with your eved? What do you do with your slave? Well, it would seem obviously don't have any slaves because this is not the reason we became a Jewish people to enslave others when we were escaping slavery. And that's correct, and that's not what the verse is referring to. First of all, we shouldn't say eved, means slave in this case. It's really a servant. And what are they talking about? They're talking about a circumstance where a person needs to serve someone else because of an economic burden that they have. They have an obligation to pay. They can't pay it. So, some societies, they throw you in jail. You had that very strange situation in a period of time in England when they had the debtor's prison. Well, what sense does that make? If you owe money and you're thrown in prison, you can't earn any money to pay back your debt. So, the Torah understood that. So it said if you are in a position where you owe money, whatever it might be, you borrowed money, can't pay it back, negligence, and you caused the damage, or you were involved in offense, a legal offense against the person, you have to pay a fine, and you don't have it, well, you go to work. You become an indentured servant in essence. So what the Torah is talking about is when you acquire an indentured servant due to economic reasons or criminal reasons, a punishment, then this is how you treat him or her. And the key is that after 6 years, whether they've paid the debt or not paid the debt, they go free. You can't keep them forever. There's going to be not only no slavery, there won't even be a permanent indentured servitude. If they choose to stay with you, the law allows it, but it's considered a great embarrassment that someone would choose to indenture themselves permanently rather than to try and live an independent life. So what the law says is, when you have such a person, you don't own them. Yes, they work for you, but you have obligations to care for them, to treat them properly. And if you don't, then they're going to be able to go free and you're going to suffer your economic loss. So what the Torah is concerned with in Parashat Mishpatim is protecting those who are forced into working for others. So what the Torah is saying to us, you were once slaves. You saw the indignity of it, how you were treated, how they beat you, how they killed you at will. Never do that to another people. And even when you have a legal right to that person's service, that person's labor, you will treat them with dignity. You will not permanently indenture them no matter what their debt is to you. And later on in the book of Deuteronomy, it clarifies that when they go, you send them away, it's time for them to leave, don't send them empty-handed, because then they'll probably end up coming right back because they'll have no wherewithal to rebuild their lives. So here the Torah is teaching us not to be like the Egyptians. You came out of slavery. Don't ever not only do that to anyone, don't even come close. Don't even mistreat the people who work for you. Not only the hired labor, but the one who was forced to work for you because of a debt that was owed. So the Torah begins with how you lived in Egypt. Do not imitate the Egyptians. Not in their worship, not in their ethics, and not in the way they treat each other. That's what Parashat Mishpatim teaches us. And then the rest of the laws, when we compare them to other cultures from that period of time, the Babylonians, the laws of Hammurabi, and surrounding cultures of the Middle East, we find that in the Torah there is a tremendous concern to avoid abusing of the people, to deny them of their property, or to deny them of their rights, or to deny them of their dignity. This is what the Jewish people learned from their experience in slavery, to treat others with humanity and with dignity. For after all, it already began in the book of Genesis. In the image of God, we were created. And the laws in Mishpatim are there to try and reinforce that concept. Shabbat Shalom.